in just 2 more days, on December 14th, Japan Standard Time, the Japanese government and U.S. military is scheduled to start with the irreversible portion of the destruction of Hinoko Ouro Bay, a critical part of the Ryukyu Okinawan ecosystem. And here's what's going on. The Okinawan people and the Okinawan government originally scheduled a referendum to happen on February 24th for all of the Okinawan people to vote in a democratic process to decide whether or not they wanted the base built at Hinoko or whether they were against it. Now, but unfortunately, the Japanese central government, under the leadership of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, have decided they are going to go ahead with the construction anyway, even before the referendum, which is why they pushed up the construction date to begin in just 2 days on December 14th. Now, many legal scholars are calling this illegal. They're saying the Prime Minister has no legal authority to be doing this. Some people are calling him fascist. And, well, he definitely seems like he is prejudiced against the Okinawan people. And I wanted to ask Minister Siu. Minister Siu has a lot of diplomatic experience. He has decades of experience dealing with matters such as these. He has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize for his work. He goes to the UN many times a year and has been doing so for over a decade. So I wanted to ask Minister Siu if he had any thoughts or advice or words of wisdom about this situation.
Yes, I do. And thank you for inviting me to speak about this. The islands of Hawaii, the Hawaiian Islands, have undergone very similar situations to what the Okinawans are going through right now. And that is the idea that a democratic process is being used, but then there's a switch made so that it's basically a dictatorship that's occurring. So, in other words, the voice of the people is set up to be used if it comes out in favor of what the powers that be want, in this case Japan and the U.S. But if it comes out in disfavor to what the wishes of the operating powers are, then the idea of democracy or democratic open voices and things like that is ignored and is set aside. And we have experienced that many times here in the past. Initially, of course, at the time of the takeover of the Hawaiian Islands, the so-called Treaty of Annexation that was never ratified, and back in 1898, 97, and 98. But the United States went ahead and moved in anyway, despite the fact that there was no treaty, and they have since failed to leave. And then recently, just in the everyday, or let's say just in the operations of how the state of Hawaii and the United States operate in Hawaii, basically they begin their projects first, and then they ask for permission afterwards. And whether or not the permission is yes or no is now pointless. So what I want to do is to warn, and everybody can see what is happening here. This is a manipulation of the proper process where you call for a referendum, but you make the decision, you start the project before the referendum is actually taken, in fact, months before. So this is really an unacceptable way of doing governance, and an unacceptable way of treating a community or a people. And this, of course, the United Nations and other international bodies really frown upon, because it is an obvious manipulation of the will of the people, and it's not even the will of the people. It's really a rejection or an ignoring of the will of the people when things like this happen. So my advice is to really make a lot of noise about this. The fact that no referendum has been held, and yet the project is moving ahead anyway. This is a real violation of the rights of the people and of the rights of the community.
Now, how can Okinawans get support from the international community?
Yes, well, of course, it's a little bit last minute right now, only 2 days away from the moving of the equipment into place to start the construction. But any kind of protests that are being made, particularly things that you can do online right now, just to call attention to what's going on and to raise the people around the world, raise their awareness and consciousness of what is going on. But in the longer run, the idea would be to file some emergency complaints to the United Nations and to other bodies about this violation of the rights of the people.